Hello again, fellow podcaster, and welcome back to Pod Theory. I'm your host, Jason Cercone, and today, let's talk about not fixating on getting 1,000,000 downloads. Instead, focus on this. When you launch a podcast, the easiest metric to get sucked into is the number of downloads you get. It feels good to see a large number of people finding and consuming your podcast, and it validates your reasons for launching the show. But what happens if you don't get a lot of downloads right off the bat? What if you're coming into this fresh and you need to take time to build your audience? This is the case with many new podcasts, and when you're at that point, the reality is you won't have a lot of downloads. It takes time and it takes effort to build momentum for your podcast. When you fixate on your download numbers, it can play evil tricks on your progress. You may begin to think that podcasting isn't worth your time. The numbers don't dictate success, therefore it's time to move on. And that's simply not the case. One of the great things about podcasting is that you control the airtime. It's not like a TV show that has bad ratings and a network yanks from the schedule. As long as you're willing to commit the time to producing quality content and improving your abilities as a podcaster, your show can live on as long as you want it to. The longer your show stays active and continues to produce new, engaging content, the more time it has to build credibility. And right there, that's the key word, credibility. People will turn to your podcast as long as the information you provide is credible and it's combined with passion, dedication, and personality from you as the host. Sure, you may only have a few people listening at first, but that number will snowball if you continue to produce shows that make those people want to tell a few more people, and so on, and so on. Combine that with great marketing, and the sky is the limit. Everything you do to attract listeners to your podcast is directly related to credibility. How you market your podcast is big, as I just mentioned a second ago. Use your additional platforms like social media and blogs and websites and email lists to offer solutions instead of just screaming, "Go listen to my podcast!" People will see that you're in this to help them, not just promote yourself. And that effort will boost your credibility in spades. Another way to build your credibility is to appear on other podcasts when you can genuinely contribute to the topic at hand. It's pretty common that any podcaster that appears on another podcast is going to get an opportunity to plug their show. But how you maximize your time being an active part of the conversation and establishing your authority, that's what's going to show listeners what a credible resource you are. And when you establish that connection, their next step will be to find your podcast and discover what else you have to say. Another big way to showcase credibility is through your ratings and reviews. And you don't necessarily need a ton of listeners to get solid reviews from your podcast either. Turn to your circle, your friends, your family, your colleagues. If they support you and your brand in other instances, chances are huge they'll be willing to support your podcast by leaving you a quick review that lets new listeners finding your show that they found something worth listening to. And once you start to see your audience grow, keep asking for ratings and reviews. Run contests on social media. Leave calls to action at the end of your podcast. The more people who take time to put in a good word for your efforts, the more credible your podcast becomes. You can get wrapped up in the number of downloads you get, but at the end of the day, it's not as important as you think. As time goes on and word spreads about the credible resource you are, naturally, your download numbers are going to continue to increase. As you're bringing new episodes to the world, your time is best spent delivering quality, engaging content to your audience. Content that will shine a spotlight on your skill set and serve as a catalyst for strong connection with your audience. Focus on credibility, and everything else will fall into place. And that's going to bring the curtain down on this installment of Pod Theory. If you enjoyed today's show, please take 30 seconds to jump over to Apple Podcasts, drop a 5-star rating, and leave a quick review with your thoughts. Like I said before, reviews help add credibility to a podcast. And if you got something out of today's show, chances are someone else will too. Good talk. I'll see you back here tomorrow. This has been Jason Cercone on Pod Theory.